Lochte was like fighting jet lag and just like threw down a world record, and it was unbelievable.
So impressive. Welcome to Social Kick. We got the full crew. I'm Brian Lundquist. He's John Mullen. That's Luke Paddington. And joining us in his new crib, Ryan Murphy. What's going on, bud? How are you?
Not too much. Everything's solid. How about you?
Oh, good. Well, I suppose we won't surprise you with let's go through the refrigerator and see what you got, how you got it stocked already. But at least you got power in the rain.
Yeah, there's really nothing in there. Yeah, it's like some leftovers from last night, and then like maybe some athletic greens, and that's it.
Is that what it takes? We did have some followers on Instagram ask how your diet has changed, but what's the diet like now? Just smashing athletic greens?
Yeah, well, that's like me trying to make sure I'm staying healthy and all that. And Bridget likes it too, so it's good like that. We can share that. I think honestly right now I'm still kind of in like recovery mode from the Olympics. I think when you go into the Olympic year, like you definitely err on the side of overcommitting. And I'm totally cool with that. Like I'm totally cool with not having balance in the Olympic year. But then afterwards you kind of have to make up for some lost time. So this is the time to like be social, see friends, maybe eat some of the things that you couldn't eat before the summer. So life's not bad.
What are some things that nobody would expect you to be eating, especially when they see a picture of Murphy's shredded abs, and then you've got like 30 chicken wings or something? What's the cheat meal that doesn't meet the normal diet?
It's honestly nothing crazy. Like I just say a sweet tooth. Like my sweet tooth is terrible. Yeah, so it's more so like and when I'm in hardcore training, like my dessert ends up being like granola or like trail mix, where now it's like, I'll have like a true dessert. So like we moved into an area that has a Susie Cakes close by. So I gave that a go this week. So that was cool. I'm getting acquainted to the new neighborhood.
Yeah. Speaking of competitive eating, I was going to bring this up later, but I don't know. Should we get into the big competition you had against for the chicken wing eating challenge?
Yeah, that was a funny event. It was really funny. And it was cool that we were able to get Lochte in there. So it was great to see Lochte, catch up with him a little bit. The event itself was just like, it was hilarious. I don't think any of us, I mean, Lochte said he was prepping, but like, I think he was just hyping it up for Netflix. We all kind of just went in there blind and we're like, okay, how do we just shove our face with chicken wings for 3 minutes? And it showed. We got absolutely dominated by Matt Stoney. So it's actually a freak of nature. This dude took down like 51 chicken wings in 3 minutes. So he's eating a chicken wing like every 3 seconds. And like, it was like 110 degrees. Like it was hot in Vegas for that. And so like we look over at the end and this dude was like drenched. It was like he had like just gone through like an old school like Auburn circuit or something, and was coming out at the end of it.
Come on, Megatoad. He's from the South Bay. He's a South Bay legend, Matthew Megatoad Stoney, one of the best competitive eaters.
He was cool. It was cool to get to know some of those guys. Like they brought out an interesting mix of people for that event.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of competitive eating videos in all honesty, and he's got a crazy YouTube channel, and maybe the worst one I've seen him do, I think it's a 5-pound gummy bear that he eats. And he's just like chowing at this thing. But for those in California, he goes to a lot of like stuff around San Jose and does their eating challenges like a 5-pound burrito-zilla. So it's nice to see you competing with the San Jose legends like Matthew Stoney.
God, yeah. That will be like my first and probably only competitive eating challenge. Like it's like crazy. Like you're like, you just do not feel good after those things. And I literally probably had like 12 chicken wings, and I still didn't feel good. So I can't even imagine eating 50.
whenever we had Tuesday and Thursday lactic sets, my brother would always throw up. He'd always throw up afterwards. And eventually we found out why, because he would have 4 hot dogs for lunch on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it was just the wrong meal to have. What was that meal that you knew if you ate that, you're going to bath and practice afterwards? Like, was that one thing?
It's a good question. I mean, I think honestly, I haven't thrown up in practice in a good bit of time.
Okay.
I mean, in high school, I would throw up all the time. Like it was same as your brother. Like anytime we had a lactate set, like I would be throwing up. I feel like I just kind of like grew out of it, or maybe it was the fueling that was different. I mean, things just sit heavy in your stomach. That's what's going to throw you over the top. Like I'm thinking like a burger with like, that would not be good. I'll never forget like the first time I had a prelims finals meet, I was like 11 or 12. We like go out to lunch after prelims. And I was always a good eater growing up. I ordered like a 12-ounce New York strip between prelims and finals. And when you're that age, you can handle it. Now that would really set me back.
My brother also swam at bowls, so it's probably a bowls thing that he started off. That's why. Go ahead, B.
No, I was gonna say mine was a foot-long Subway chicken sandwich. The chicken, they were almost like grilled chicken tenders, that were the length of the 6-inch sub, but I had a foot long, and that was what I had before that Auburn puke session video.
Oh, you were one of the guys in that video?
Yeah, I was one of the 4. It's like I was the first one to puke in the video because Brett texted us like that afternoon and said Garrett from Flow Swimming was coming, and he's like, hey, let's just come up with like whatever the crazy shit you can think of to mess with this guy. And so we were like texting him drills and everything, and then so the first part that they released was just dumb drills that we would never do, and then the second part of it, which I didn't know until I had just housed a sandwich, was though that we were going to show up and like sprint until we puked. But we were so game, we're like, yeah, sure, fine, let's do it. But like I was like, I would have chosen a different meal before this had I known. So I don't know, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because then I was actually like out early and I had to like suffer less. But
it's actually funny that was like the playbook when someone would come by the pool too, because I feel like Cal operates in the same way. Like anytime there'd be someone filming on the pool deck, we would just do we either do sets that we knew would be like too confusing for them to follow, because it's just like Durden has like all of his like all of his abbreviations, and he can run like I'm not kidding, like that guy can run probably like 6 different practices at once. It's so impressive. But like anytime there's a film crew on the deck, like it's always just like either random stuff or like the most hardcore recovery practice that we're going to do, or just like the most confusing set possible.
We did have a follower ask us something about the easiest set that you had ever done, and I was like, well, probably just not doing a set, but it sounds like maybe that's what made it to video on one of those occasions.
Well, the easiest days are like if everyone's just like obliterated and it's like, hey, do like 2,000 on the house. I mean, it doesn't happen. Like I honestly can't remember the last time we've done that, but it might happen like once a year.
Yeah. What about this puke bucket? What's the story with that? Somebody, Neophyto Shara, asked us, where is your puke bucket these days? Is that a thing?
Yeah, like I hope it's in the trash and like long gone. But knowing my mom, it's probably like kept somewhere and like dusted off every couple days. She's like, she keeps everything like very in line and clean. Yeah, so I just used to get really nervous before races. Like at the youngest age, I was like, yeah, that was just like part of my struggle. Is I just got really nervous. If I ate anything, it would come back up right before the race. I ended up growing out of it by the time I was like 12. But I honestly feel like, I kind of take the positive spin on it now. Like, people ask me all the time, like, what's the most nervous you've been before a race? And like, to be realistic, it's probably like the 6 and under 100 IM, like I was so nervous before like every race at a young age. And I just feel like it helped me learn how to deal with nerves.
I think it was a sign for me when I was getting ready to race. I would get on the blocks, I'll start yawning, or I'd get really like I'd be yawning because that's a body's reaction to get oxygen in to get ready to fight, right? Or I started to get really nauseous. And go back to my brother, he swam a mile to make nationals, made nationals, got out, he had a 200 fly right away just to make points for the team. And he puked when he handed in his time card. He puked on the time card and he got up and swam a 200 fly. And everybody's like, what the hell's going on? Have you guys ever seen somebody like puke after a race at a meet and just not?
Did he puke on the timer?
He did. He puked on the time card. Like,
Also, how old are you? What time cards are you talking about?
time card.
Yeah.
What is
That's
a
how it
time
was,
card?
Brian. Oh, you don't know a time
In Trinidad,
card?
we don't have the
Oh.
fancy stuff, okay? Pen and paper. Come on.
Yeah, you have
Really?
the 3 timers with their hand timer, write down their times on the time card, then you
Not a
go hand
phone.
it in at
That's
the
hard.
end.
Come on.
Yeah, it sounds like that was like a ping pong meet for us.
But people don't
All right, let's
puke at
change-
meets, right? That's the they don't touch your water and throw up. Do you see that? No.
It's
No, no.
rare.
That people will just throw up right after the race.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely some people that do. I'm thinking, I don't know, like Alex Walsh throws up after like most of her races.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, yeah, she's just like,
Right.
yeah, that's just like how she rolls. But she's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I never see it. Like, I don't know. I think she like she does what she can to like, be as private as possible. But yeah, it happens.
It'd be a better effect if it was just like right there. Like this happened at the Ironman World Championships, or Christian Blumenfeld's the Olympic champion in Tokyo in the triathlon, and now he's a long course athlete. But there's like these viral videos of him puking on the bike and just like huge volumes of liquid, like all of his nutrition coming out. And they got all of the good footage of it. I'd love to
happens if
see
you
Alex
puke?
Walsh do that.
Yeah, if you puke on the block, are they going to stop or reset? You just get on the block and you just puke right in your lane?
I don't know.
They wouldn't stop it. Like,
And then you just dive into it and get going?
yeah, why would you stop? Like, I don't know. It's kind of like, it is what it is at that point, like it's out. So,
It'd be even better if it was in the backstroke start position, because you're like facing the camera right there, and so you could just right
Gets
there.
back.
I know, yeah. When you're at the international meets, you'll then you just inevitably like puke on their like GoPro that they're like shoving in there to get that angle.
You ever think about just like blowing it a kiss or something? Giving a little wink.
In that moment, it's like the last thing I'm thinking about is the camera. Like I'm like, yeah, like right before the race, I'm so in the zone. Like I'm not noticing a ton, honestly.
Yeah, but that Paris camera looked really big. It looked like you guys had to really be careful where you put your hands. Was it a bigger camera than usual, or you didn't really notice it? You just like used it, you jumped on.
It's hard for me to remember now. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
do
didn't someone
remember-
adjust it or move it? And
Yeah, somebody adjusted it. Somebody had a bad
So-
start because of it once as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember at Olympic trials this year that the camera was pretty big. Like I remember, it was the night that Hunter slipped on the backstroke start. So I was in the same lane as him. Like that camera was like kind of in the way. Yeah, but like, yeah. So I mean, it's just kind of like it is what it is. Like you can't really do anything. Like you're just like, I let someone at USA Swimming know after, like, hey, like, can you maybe put the camera in a different spot tomorrow? Like,
Exactly.
and I like came up with the solution. I'm like, hey, put it in this angle. Like, you're probably getting a better angle anyway from there. And so, yeah, like sometimes like, yeah, you have people like the people that are producing the broadcast, like they're not necessarily like, competitive backstrokers and know where we're going to place our hands. Yeah. Like, so it's natural that, sometimes they're not going to think everything like 100% through the same way we would.
Of all the people that happened to was Hunter, right? He says he doesn't love his underwater at all. And for him to recover from that slip and to pop up and still pop up what he did, it was amazing. What would you have done? Because, I mean, your start is the best probably there ever was. And then you don't get you off the wall and you're stuck. What would you do? Like, how do you recover from that, Brian?
Yeah, you just have to, kind of just go on like the memory bank at some point, like I feel pretty strongly like if you're showing up to practice and doing everything every single day, like you're going to get exposed to everything that you could possibly see in a race.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of times where I've gone in practice and slipped off the block, and you kind of just build through. I mean, depends on the length of the race, but in the 100 back, like you still just kind of like keep the same strategy, because the last thing you want to do is just spin your wheels right after that happens, and like just kind of forget that you've got to sustain through 100. So you still just kind of follow the same game plan and see how it goes.
All right. So when you do nail the start, and this is a question from Peter Koitzer, how the hell is your reaction so fast? And somebody else on your team about a year ago told us you have the most explosive starts in backstroke. What do you think is your secret? The one thing besides your vertical jump?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like when I changed my backstroke start, so I changed it probably that was in 2018. I mean, the people that I was looking at were the Japanese. The Japanese were always dominating people on the backstroke starts. And so I think a bit of the reaction time, I think a little bit of it is a game, because I think I probably put more of my feet on the pad as compared to most people. I think a lot of people have like more of their feet on the wedge. Mm-hmm. So I think a little bit of it is like that. That's part of the game. But yeah, I mean, I think the Japanese, I always thought have the best backstroke start. So those were the people that I was looking at. And then you just kind of make some adjustments just based on your body type. Like for me, my hips are super tight, so like I can't get into like this really like small ball on the wall. So like, that's why my hips are out a little bit further. Cause like, like if I'm going for a vertical jump, I'm not putting my butt on my heels. Like that's not explosive at all for me. And like everyone just has kind of like a different range of where their explosiveness is. My explosiveness is more at like a leg degree angle greater than 90 degrees. And so that's kind of like the setup position for me. And it works for me.
And the Japanese had a head position that when they got set, it was kind of like already set back, wasn't it? Was that what you did with your head position? Where were you at? Where was your upper back and neck and head on your set position?
Yeah, I mean, really, like more so what I was looking at with the Japanese guys was their butt position. So like where their butt was in relation to the water, and then the rest of it is like the rest of it is like a little bit intuitive. I tried out all of the head positions on the start, and for me, it just made sense to keep just kind of keep the head in line with the spine. So it's like I'll get side angle here. Like for me, like I just want to keep all that in line. It doesn't make sense for me to have the head back. It just doesn't feel good for me. Again, going back to a vertical jump, like if I'm doing a vertical jump, like I'm not going to start the vertical jump with my head like this. Like I'm kind of going to start it in just like a normal position. That's just more comfortable for me.
Now that we're on backstroke starts, I've always been curious now that the wedge is kind of accepted. It's not going anywhere. But do you like the wedge and the idea that, hey, I kind of liked having a flat wall as, another skill or another thing that would challenge backstrokers? Or do you like just having it set so everyone can have like a very solid surface and the same kind of, game or way to start?
Yeah, I mean, I like the wedge. I think I just think like going back to pre-wedge, like you'd always be relatively nervous going to the big meets. Like, okay, like what are these pads looking like? Because it could completely unravel. It could just completely unravel everything you work for in the season. If you get to the final and you slip, it's just like it's just not how things should go. So like I like the wedge. Like if they had a stickier pad, that would also be the same thing as having the wedge. So either work for me. The feedback that I would like to be received is I think the wedge is great. I wish we had adjustable handbars as well. Because just having like those basically like if it's that rectangle, like having those, you basically have three ways that you can maybe put your hands. I'd love if that horizontal bar could move vertically, and then we could adjust the hand height a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think all these things are good, like technical innovations. And I remember being against the wedge on the starting block for when it first came out. And overall, I just think like it leveled the playing field for start. It took some of the skill out of it. And so people, I think it made everybody faster, and took some of that advantage away. But also, on the flip side of that, like having fewer slip ups and taking away that anxiety of like, can I trust the equipment? Am I going to like be able to just execute the start? Like what we care about is like the swimming part of the race, not, something like that happened to Hunter too, which is crazy that it can, still happen. It is equipment. But I remember going to Bahamas Nationals and just swimming backstroke there and bringing surf wax to put on the touchpad because it was so slippery and they were flat and it was just pre-wedge and there was like no other, thing that you could do about it. And similarly, swimming in these like, Grand Prix meets and stuff in Italy and other places in Europe where they still had like shorter blocks that weren't like as angled and there was no wedge. And you're like, what material is this? Like tile? Like why, how am I going to grip anything on this? So yeah, I don't know. Like some things it's good to just make it be about the athletic event. I follow triathlon and cycling too. And it's like flat tires are just like crazy that's like part of the sport still, like mechanical stuff. Like it should just be about the athletic event. So I don't know.
Yeah. You never want to worry about like, it should just be like, you want people to be able to show off their talent, like, being able to grip a flat wall with a pad that, has varying levels of slipperiness, like it's a variable for sure, but like, you don't want that to decide a race.
When I was racing as a 6-year-old, I learned to do backstroke starts. Years of 25, so you started at the far end and you held on to a person's ankles, and that was your blocks. And you ankles, and you went off. So Ryan, you got to swim school. You're teaching kids how to swim. How fast would you do if I stood up and you held my ankles and you had to push off my ankles? Like
Luke, you're getting pulled in, I think, man. Luke's going in.
I'd be better than average. I'll make that guaranteed.
Man, I think broken hips in Luke's future. That's for sure.
Don't recommend it. Don't
Talk
break
about
your hip.
teaching 6-year-olds the basics, like the basics of backstroke, for instance, a backstroke start. Because a backstroke start, the freestyle starts are scary enough. A lot of them don't want to go and put their head in and dive first. They put their feet first. Far as a backstroke, it's just a fling back. How would you get a 6-year-old to be comfortable just flinging the body all the way back? The basics of that.
Yeah, I always just think you kind of take it in like palatable steps, So I think you kind of start with the jump start, So there's kind of on the side of the pool, they get used to like getting a little bit of elevation over the water, and you could have that being more like side angle to start. Then you can move it a little bit more to just like, all right, now just push off straight on your back, surface push. Then you maybe go off the ankles at the side of the pool, and then gradually you get used to putting your hands up higher and having to arch your back a little bit more. But yeah, I think everything's just about like baby steps is baby steps for a reason.
How about backstroke drills? We did have an audience question from MZUBE23 asking, best backstroke drills. So maybe you can talk through like for beginners or kids learning backstroke, and then maybe what ones you found yourself going to at this point in your career.
Yeah, to be honest, I do a lot of the same drills that I did when I was really young. So I think that's a testament to some of the coaches I had at a young age. I think they were talented. But yeah, I really value drills. I think my favorite drill in backstroke is honestly just single arm. Like I really like isolating one arm, so the opposite arm is going to be down by your side. And then you're just getting into a solid position, working on, and you have different focuses throughout that. Like when I'm doing single arm, I'm trying to focus on having a pretty small kick behind me. So I think when you're doing single arm, like you can see a lot more of the compensations that you're making. So, a lot of times people will kind of kick across their body to help them rotate. So you kind of you're trying to be aware of that. But yeah, it's just good to isolate an arm and like really just set the catch in a strong position.
Are you kicking flat always, or are you going?
Yeah, naturally the legs rotate. Because like there's going to be some level of compensation. I'm a heavy rotation backstroke swimmer. Like I understand there's a couple of different techniques in backstroke, but I think for the people that are a little bit more like core driven backstrokers, where that's the camp I'd fall into. If you're core driven, you're trying to get your shoulders up and out of the water. So in order to get that level of rotation, your legs are going to be going side to side. Ideally you're not kicking across the body a ton. It's going to happen a little bit, but that's always been my goal. If I could completely rotate my body without any sort of compensation, that would obviously be the best. It's just hard when you don't have in swimming, you're not grounded on anything. If you're swinging like a baseball bat, you're grounded and you can throw the hips and swing the body after it. And in swimming, you don't have that grounding force. So you're still trying to have that level of rotational speed and rotational power, but you sometimes have to kick across the body to make it happen.
The Katie Ledecky video with the cup of milk on her head was a huge video on Instagram, but I think we all know that as mainly a backstroke drill, right? With the cup of water on your head, balancing. Do you find a benefit in that drill? And how long could you swim backstroke while keeping a thing of milk on your head?
I mean, I could probably
forever.
Yeah, I could probably go a long time. I think for the second you just start going fast, water's coming over your face, and so you have to go pretty slow when you're swimming with the glass on your head. So I don't do that drill, but I did when I was younger. As a good way to just not throw the head.
Yeah. Speaking of not doing drills. Wait, no, go ahead, Luke. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, I when Keaton told us that he can pull hundreds under a minute, I was like, you're pulling, you don't have your kick to leverage and ground yourself, like you said, right? And have that, the balance and leverage to get off there. How is he doing that? Is this really strong core stability? And are you in some same boat? You can pull forever, strong without having to kick and balance?
Yeah. I mean, Key's not doing that with a band on, there's definitely some leg involvement. It's not like he's going for a kick.
Okay.
I was just thinking in my head, it's if you're doing if we're going fast 50s with a band on, no one's breaking 30 seconds. So he's not going under a minute with a band on. But Key's definitely a better puller than I am. That's for sure. I remember because Keane had some class conflicts the first semester. So I honestly wasn't training with him a ton in the fall of last year. So I remember the first time and I was swimming with Destin every single day. So Destin was my main guy in the fall. But I remember we got to a Saturday practice and we had a pole set, and Destin and I look over to the third lane and we see Keaton just dominating us on pole, and we're what is this? Where did that come from? We definitely gotta get better at the pulling side.
All right. Speaking of kicking during pulling, what is the most egregious faux pas that one of your training partners can do? What's super annoying?
I mean, it's more so when you hit the wall and someone's tired and they're just breathing right in your face. For me, that's what really irks me. It's look, there's really pick any other 75% of the way you can face and face that way. We don't have to be in my face breathing on me. It just bugs me. That might be a COVID reaction that I've just never shook. But I can't stand it. I can't stand breathing other people's whatever their exhalation.
Wait, I thought you were going to say about being too excited, flexing on you, oh, that was easy. I was wondering, does Destin smile as much in practice as he does seemingly at meets? Because I feel that guy just is permagrin.
Oh my God, Destin's it is really what you see is what you get there. Destin is that guy, he is a really quality guy, a quality person all the way around. I love that guy. He's awesome. He's awesome to train with. He works really, really hard. He's so committed. and he is happy. Like if he has a bad practice, like he has like enough of like a future focused mindset that he's like, oh, like I'm really frustrated about that. Like, you know, like what do you think about this as like a compensation when I'm getting tired? So he's like, he's really eager. He's really eager to learn. And then in the same side, like there's plenty of practices where Destin will kind of like stick it to me, and like, you know, he's like motivating after, like, oh yeah, like, you know, like let's get it tomorrow, like come back good from that one, you know. So like he's a really good teammate.
We couldn't agree more from what we have interacted a little with Destin. So I'm really glad, and it's something to have somebody who's world class to be training with you who's also a world class human, which is really nice. You know, like when it seems like. Ryan, I had a question about massages. So I got a massage this week, and massage is going great. So relaxed, so out of it, into it, turning my back. Then I started to breathe her breath as she was massaging my neck, and I was totally out of it. I was like, yeah, no. And it's not only that, or when they drip sweat on you because they're working so hard, or when you feel the bristle of their forearm because when they're rubbing you out. What is
you need a new massage therapist, Luke. God, I think we need to start there.
I mean, over
they're
the
sweating
course
on
of
you.
thousands of massages I've gotten. You know, those are some of the bad things. How important is massage and recovery of you guys? Do you have a masseuse on deck? Because I'm friends with the Cal masseuse. You know, and they're really, really top notch and amazing folks. How important is that with you guys? And you know, Della is a friend of mine. She's awesome. You know.
Oh yeah, Della's the best. She's actually like. Yeah, no, they're like just such a kind person. I mean, massage is super important, you know, and I think it's like, you know, like I definitely value that in my training. Like I'm very much someone where like, you know, like this might be like old school mentality, but like, you know, like I try to honestly hurt as much as possible before I start adding massages into the program. So like I hardly ever get massages in the fall. You know, like I'm just like, you know what, the fall is like the time to like hurt and like feel good pain. Add massages in a little bit later because I think it's really helpful. You know, but I never want to do like, you know, like I never want to get like too dependent on like one thing. You know, so I do think massages are great, but I try to be like selective with when I put it in the season. If some injury is popping up, then like absolutely I'll get in, but more so for injuries, I'll try to see a physical therapist to work through that.
What are you up to lately? You know, let's change gears a bit and talk about the move. How much are you on the water? You mentioned, you know, kind of the come down from Paris, but what's going on in your life outside of the pool?
Yeah, life's honestly it's been pretty wild. Like coming back from Paris, like, you know, closing up some sponsor deals and getting those appearances done. That takes up a good bit of time. You know, looking for a house is honestly like a full-time job. You know, like like luckily we ended up in a great house, but that was a couple of months of going through houses and, you know, trying to be selective and trying to be like pretty disciplined on like, okay, like, you know, we think this house is worth this much. Like we got outbid on a house before this one. So that's been a process. Opened up a swim school in my hometown of Jacksonville, Florida. So that opened up, like early mid-October. And so that's been fun, like starting to get that off the ground, you know, and marketing that and making sure that we have good experiences for the families coming in the door. And so then like, yeah, swimming's definitely like taking a little bit of a backseat. So it's all of those things. And I think that's like totally okay. Like, as I was saying at the beginning, like in the Olympic year, you so much are on the side of overcommitting. And so now is a time to like really make sure that everything else is set up. And I'm still staying in shape. You know, like I'm swimming probably like, you know, 3 or 4 times a week right now, just like depending on what the schedule allows. And I'll gradually ramp that up now. So I'm keeping a feel for the water. You know, I'm staying in the weight room. I got the home gym set up here. Like literally I got most of the things in and then I had like, you know, a couple final things to hang yesterday. So now it's like, it's in a good spot where I could really put in some good work there. Yeah. So yeah, life's good. Life's busy. And, you know, I'm staying in good shape.
That's good. Have you connected with Nathan on any advice and portals on setting up swim school after what he and Will did? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Nathan, I mean, I went with a franchise model. So, like I'm with Goldfish Swim School. So that's honestly great. Like they have a blueprint for us that we could follow. And there's so many different franchisees we can connect with if we have an issue, because it is like similar, a lot of the similar equipment. It's the same curriculum, obviously, across the board, and then a lot of the same software that we're using in terms of getting families signed up. So Nathan, honestly, like he's got to build this thing from scratch. Like he's trying to come up with all the curriculum. He's setting like all of the like all the employee expectations and all of that. So he has a little bit more to do, honestly, as compared to my situation. But it ultimately does, like, you're constantly hiring in this business. Like it's, you have a lot of part-time workers, so they're going to come and go. So you're constantly hiring to make sure that you have enough instructors on the pool deck.
Are you ever one of them? Sorry, go ahead.
Luke.
I was going to say, do you get on deck and do clinics and stuff at your own school?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like when I'm going in, like we have our instructors that are doing it every day. So like I'm very much in like the support role when I'm getting in the water and just kind of like, helping out if, just helping out in a couple of the lanes here and there. And then like, I'm trying to be like all encompassing to the business. So like I'm getting in the water, giving the lessons. That's honestly what I'm most passionate about. I enjoy that part probably the most. But I also want to be like on the other side of the class, talking to the parents, making sure they're comfortable, making sure they're having a good experience. So yeah, I mean, really just like leaning into all aspects of the business.
I want to talk about like some other investment stuff too. So we did have somebody ask, Corey Manley on Instagram asked us, what's in your investment portfolio? What else we got besides swim schools?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've definitely enjoyed the investing side as well. Like I was a business administration undergrad at Cal. And one of the things that I was nervous about when I was turning professional is that there was going to be a level of mental degradation as a result of not being in school all the time and not having a job. Like I like to describe being an Olympic athlete as we're really living a flipped reality for most people. Like we are physically exhausted looking for a mental outlet. Most people are mentally exhausted looking for a physical outlet. And so with that in mind, like there's plenty of people that are incredibly successful in their careers and they're doing like Ironmans on the side, like they're hardcore. And I kind of like that model for me with my mental outlet. So I've leaned in a lot on, I manage my own money. So like I'm handling all of my own public investments. And so I have like, some stocks in there. And then I have a private portfolio now as well. So I became an advisor to a venture capital group in 2022 in Berkeley. And they're doing like seed and pre-seed stage investing. I'm getting like pretty technical. Sorry.
No, dude. Yeah, all good.
And then I'm also involved with a private equity group that's more in medical device investing. So those are the two that I'm mainly involved in. And then I've made a couple of direct investments, in companies that I find to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, what's the plan? Kind of beyond the pool. I mean, I love it, especially people that are kind of like career swimmers, let's say, who like are over the course of multiple Olympiads. Like you've made a career from this, but you're sort of blending that to kind of tick that mental box and prepare for what comes after. Like, and yet like going into the swim school space too is kind of interesting because I feel like I'd heard you talk about some of the investment stuff and VC stuff in the past. So like, if you envision a day like post swim career, do you look at like the way that you live your life as being like having kind of like a lot of different balls in the air and things moving, that kind of variety versus like a little bit more focused?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I enjoy having a lot going on. Like I think, like I'm the son of a teacher, and I think the way that's manifested in me is that like I constantly like to learn new things. I think that lends itself pretty well to to more like the venture investing space. Like you're constantly on the edge of, you're kind of honestly on the edge of potential for companies. And that's really exciting. So you're constantly forced to learn. And there's a level of like cool collaboration across the board with that. So I'd love to lean into that a little bit more. But then I also like, I do really enjoy the swim school. And so like, I think there's a level with the swim school. Part of the reason why I wanted to invest in a swim school as part of a franchise is because it honestly, it gives me a little bit more freedom. Like if there are problems that come up, like I said, I can go to a blueprint, I could talk to other owners that have had similar problems and kind of troubleshoot that pretty quickly. And then I also think if it gets to the point where I'm able to scale a little bit with that, then you could hire more people. So at that point, like you could have someone who's purely focused on hiring people. So like there's cool ways where like if there's a little bit more density with the swim schools, then you can kind of you can delegate some more things and really just like go to what you're passionate about, which for me would be more like in the water. So I like the idea of all of that. So I like the swim schools long term, and I also like the private investing long term.
I'm fascinated by your flip mentality for the sport, because swimming is where I always find mindfulness. Just yesterday I had a tough day, so I need to go for a swim. And I went for a swim. I came back better. In high school, I can't figure out this maths problem. I'm gonna go for a swim. When I came back, the solution was right there. I just figured it out. But like I'm sure you still experience that. But when swimming is everything for you, your career, your income, your performance, you're judged on it. It can be a stress factor as well. Do you find that investments, your wife, your house stuff, that is your mindfulness where you can be most present, or a bit of both?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think it was like I intentionally was like, oh, I want like all these things so that swimming feels less intense. I think it's more so just kind of came naturally for me. Like in the way that I view balance is like, yeah, like I want to know that I'm handling things in the pool, like, and I trust that I'm going to do that. I go and I work my butt off, and I'm constantly trying to push the envelope on performance there. But you have to be able to get away. And so like from a social standpoint, like I have my things that I like to do that captures my attention and gets me away from the pool. And then same with the business interests outside of the pool. Like I'm looking for things that can hold my attention. And so like I kind of want to do some harder things outside of the pool, because it just forces me to be like really, really present. And so it does help me get away from having swimming in the back of my head at all times.
Do you think that speaks to your personality? We have mutual friends who at highest level met at the Olympics, and when they stopped swimming, they put that precision and obsession with their craft into, one of them put into Bitcoin, and literally would spend hours and hours and hours just analyzing Bitcoin and was obsessed by it,
Good time now.
And because
I hope they put their entire net worth in there.
Yeah,
he did it back in 2016, Brian? Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember Nathan was buying some Bitcoin. I think it was 2018. And I remember what he was saying to that.
Yeah.
Do you say it was Nathan?
No, he influenced Nathan. It's George Bovell. So George, George got friendly and Nathan at Cal back in 2013, 2012. Yeah. So yeah, George got that. But I was going to say, I think that spoke to George's personality, where he was just very precise about everything he did in his life. And when swimming became different, now he wanted to put somewhere else. Do you think that helps feed something of you, that drive, that precision, that your mind just needs that simulation, and you dropped it into there and it fed it?
Well, yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Like, I think like for me, like I obviously I love swimming and I love being in the water. But I'd love to be exceptional at something else too. So like there's a level of that where it's like, yeah, I can't just, maybe I could, but like I don't want to sit here just like idly and like just kind of like cross that bridge when it comes. Like I like the idea of kind of building towards it right now, and I also like I view everything like through the lens of like sports analogies, so like where I'm at with all these ventures outside of the pool, like I consider myself to be like, like where I was as like a middle school swimmer, like I'm building like the love of that, like before there's like, real serious money involved, like building the love for it in this time. And I feel like that's a really healthy, like that's been great for me on the swimming side. And I think that's gonna be great for me long-term on the, more on the investing side.
No, so timely just having this discussion, because last night I was hanging out with a former teammate of mine, Matt Target, and we were having this conversation about mastery, and the idea that like, well, I think still for me, probably as many years removed from swimming as I had in swimming at this point, probably still the thing that I had the most mastery in. And we were having this discussion about like, oh, he shared the same thing. Not to say that there aren't other things that are trending in that direction where we have interest and we've spent a lot of time and compounded those hours to like build this knowledge base. But when you're removed from the sport for a while and you don't talk about it that much, then you come back to it and you're like, oh my God, like the depth and breadth of this library that we learn about swimming and nerd out about. It's like, I can understand why, having a swim school is a good outlet for that, and having a podcast and, sharing things with swimming is a good outlet for us on it. Cause it's like, but what I'm getting at is maybe there are other things, and you've provided a kind of a structured approach about the way that you're thinking about like how to go after, developing mastery in some of these other areas of your life. And I think it's just kind of fascinating because a lot of people don't achieve mastery in anything. At the elite level of swimming or in sport, we developed mastery in one thing, which is cool, and it's an experience that a lot of people don't have. How cool would it be if you're able to apply that mindset to then some other areas and develop mastery in other skills, other avenues in the rest of your life? So I don't know. It's cool the way you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's fun for me. Like I always wanted to kind of find my, like what was going to be my connection point to swimming long term. And I think like everyone can find their different ways. For me, I think the learn to swim side is super, super intriguing. And I think there's great opportunity there. Like we're still, we still honestly have a long way to go. Like there's a huge part of the population that doesn't know to swim, and especially at the youngest ages, like drowning is still the leading cause of unintentional death for children aged 1 to 4. So there's a lot of work to be done on that side, and so it's great to be involved in the swim school from that front. But I think like I've gone through the thought experiment plenty of times of like, what is it that I really love about swimming, and I think like I really like the challenge of it, but I love the competition. Like the competition is like so fueling for me, and so like I want to be involved in businesses that are really competitive and can kind of like I can feel that drive somewhere else as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just had Yusra Mardini on. Her film The Swimmers was on Netflix, and after they made The Swimmers, she wanted to go to film school, so she's at USC and she's into filmmaking. You're gonna get into acting career after your speedo shoots? What's going on there, man?
I don't think that's for me, but that's cool. I mean, that film was like really, really successful, right? Like it did really well.
Yeah, it did really well. But speaking of other ventures, I've been wondering why, and maybe this is a component for your swim school, is why you're not a fitness influencer and you haven't released like Murphy's ab routine yet. When's the when's that fitness influence coming out?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's honestly like I've always been a pretty private person. I don't know, and I know that like being more active on social media and putting more out there is like that would honestly be very beneficial to myself and my family. It's just never felt like my personality. Like I don't really enjoy like having the spotlight on me. Like I kind of enjoy just like doing my thing and showing up, working really hard and letting the results speak for itself. So it's always been harder. It's always been hard for me to lean into the social media side, to be honest. And I hope like when I have in-person interactions with a lot of these kids that they're getting a lot out of it. Like that's what I really enjoy, like that person-to-person interaction. But yeah, maybe someday I'll get more into the influencing side. I feel like that honestly is a great way to hold you accountable. Like if I was forced to like put out content about my workouts, like, every couple days, I'd be really ripping some workouts. I don't want to put out bad content. So like, I'm ripping workouts as it is. They're just not filmed. So yeah, I mean, I think if I was ever in like a lull for motivation, maybe that would be a good way to fire me up.
I'm curious about if it manifests this way for you, but like I'm an introvert and yet I can have extroverted activities and like moments that bring out like the social part of me, but like I still recharge, on my own or separately, or when I spend a lot of time with people, it's like too much peopling, but I'm curious too about like career pursuits, like if you're getting into investing and connecting with people and talking to VCs and all that, like that has an extroverted aspect to it. Or how would you categorize yourself?
Yeah. So I mean, have you ever done like some of the personality tests?
I did. Yeah. So I'm an INTJ on Myers-Briggs, and then
I'm ISTJ. So we're like very similar. But every time I do it, I'm like either 51-49 on the I like introverted versus extroverted, or like 50-50. So like I think I kind of float between the two. Like I definitely need like my alone time to like recharge, and like I watched Thursday Night Football the other night. I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but like it was the Steelers versus the Browns, and it was awesome. It was a blizzard game. It was so fun to watch, So it's like I need like my moments like that where it's just like I can just like chill and like I kind of turn the brain off that way. But I definitely pull energy from a lot of people. Like I think one of the skills that I've actually, and I think this relates back to swimming, one of the skills that I think I've developed as a result of swimming is that you have to be able to pull motivation from so many different parts of your life. Like if you're constantly drawing from the same well of like, I just want to beat the person next to me and like, that's how I'm going to do it. Like you're going to get exhausted at some point. And so you have to be able to pull motivation from different parts. Sometimes you got to go internal and like really just like pull it out of yourself. Sometimes you are going like, I call it like raw animalistic, like you just want to beat the person next to you. And other times some people are bringing great energy to practice and you just feed off that. So yeah, I try to just take like, if there's ever free energy around, like I'm trying to take that and use it to fuel me. And so I think that's a skill I developed from swimming, but I think it applies long-term as well.
Yeah.
Dude, what did you think about this Doug Peterson interview in the Jags? Could they need some of your motivation right now?
I mean, it's like, we have the most patient owner in the league. It's just like, come on, like it's absurd at this point. It's like the GM. God, I don't want this to turn.
Where to begin?
But it's like the GM like puts in the owners a year that this is the best team the Jags have ever assembled.
Best team ever.
And then it's like and they get blown out by the Lions 52-6. It's like I get Trevor Lawrence is out, but it's like you're not giving him any help. If you're plugging in like a former first round pick, Mac Jones, who's like, I think he went to the Pro Bowl, like it's not like, like there's plenty of backup quarterbacks that are like able to go in and like Jameis Winston last night be like serviceable and like win some games. And the Jags are just like, they're just blowing it. Like I'm still a believer in Trevor Lawrence, but like there's got to be, and I think honestly, like Doug Peterson's left the franchise in a better spot than when he got there. And that is like fact in my opinion. But like, I think they're just ready for something different.
Tough times. We got 4 shitty football teams. Luke's a Niners fan. John's a Bengals fan. Somehow my Falcons are like leader in the clubhouse amongst us 4, but they're trying to give it all back lately. So NFL tough times. All right, we got a few rapids, then we'll let you go, Ryan. What's the hardest race in swimming?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's either 4 a.m. or 2 back.
Olympic gold or world record?
Olympic gold.
What are you listening to, watching, or reading right now? What are you consuming?
I haven't watched a show like literally since the Olympics. Like I can tell like busy like life has been. I've literally just spent time watching football. So like what I'm listening to house music. That's what I work out to.
Nice. Sorry, I'm choking on it here. What's the hardest set that you ever did?
Hardest set. To be honest, like I think like those big interval like lactic sets, like those crush me. Yeah. So I mean, I think there was a set we did. This was like Daniel Carr was maybe like a freshman or a sophomore. So it was like a couple of years ago. But it was like 12 150s on like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Where you're going from a start every time, and it's like you're getting out of the water, you're warming down, which ends up being like a 50 of warm down, and then you're coming back, and like I was just smoked the rest of the day. Where it's just like you're like hurting behind the eyes.
Yeah. Those are brutal to me too. I hate those so much. I mean, I liked them, but they were really challenging. If you could keep 3 apps on your phone, you only get 3. Which 3 are they?
Messages.
Phone call.
I guess messages, Chrome, and I guess X. I've really enjoyed X. Like my algorithm is like on point now, and like I'm getting great content on X.
Oh yeah, all right, good. I feel like Chrome is the kind of Swiss Army knife too of apps. So
that's what I was thinking. I'm like, what can I access with another app?
Yeah, it's like saying you get 3 wishes. Well, infinite wishes is one of them, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, what's the best?
On your question.
Yeah, what's the best race you ever saw live?
I remember the first world record I saw in person was, maybe it wasn't the first, but this was like the one where I was like in the stands with like a really good view. It was Ryan Lochte 200 IM at 2012 Short Course Worlds.
Nice.
That was really, really impressive. And it was like more impressive because like our flight got canceled. We were both flying out of Jacksonville to go to the meet. And I remember I was super nervous. I was like a senior in high school, and like Lochte and Dwyer showed up to the airport in a limo. And then it turned out our flight got canceled, and I got to the airport, like our flight to meet up, I think in like Newark, got canceled. And so I got to the airport before them. And so I was like, okay, I'll rebook to the first available. And like, I got the last spot on that flight. So Lochte and Dwyer had to fly the next day. And like, we did not get to that meet very early. So like Lochte was like fighting jet lag and just like threw down a world record. And it was unbelievable.
So impressive. Watching Ryan swim at 2008 Short Course Worlds, had a similar experience, just like knocking out world records like every other event. So that's crazy. Last one for you, Ryan, is how often are you doing social kick when it's normal training?
I'd say we probably hit it. I mean, we hit it a lot, honestly. Like when Durden has a lot on his mind, he throws in social kick, which is like a little bit annoying. Like if your warm up is like a 4 flop 2 social kick on like a Monday morning at 6:05, it's like I don't really appreciate.
Yeah, I'm cold.
That. I'm cold.
I don't need to kick right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm winning that social kick, because it's just like I'm like I am trying to warm up.
Oh yeah. Always fun to chat with you, dude, on so many different topics. Thanks for hanging out. I'm always reminded of the the strapping young 17-ish-year-old you were in 2011 Pan Am's team. That's where I first crossed paths with you. And it's been fun to watch your career since and think about like, oh man, who would have never known at that point in time, like, you know, all the great swimming stories that you would tell. So thanks for sharing some time with us, and appreciate it.
God, what a throwback. The 2011 Pan Am team. Oh my God. God, funny stories from that one. Thank you guys. It was good talking.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, all right, that's it for this episode of Social Kick. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Hey everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode of Social Kick and you'd like to see more, subscribe to the channel. And we love talking swimming, and we'd love to talk about swimming with you. So leave us a comment, and we'll see you next time.